Yo, what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video, I'll be walking you guys through exactly how to prepare for an entry-level cybersecurity job interview. I know a lot of you guys are probably in my similar position before, where you're graduating college and looking to get into your first job in cybersecurity, or you're looking to switch into cybersecurity from a different industry. And in this video, I'm going to try and break down exactly what questions you might face, what kind of things you can do to prepare for an entry-level cybersecurity job interview, and what to pretty much look forward to and look out for. I've been through multiple different types of job interviews and job interviews from different companies for different positions when it comes to entry-level cybersecurity jobs. So in this video, I'm going to try my best to pretty much condense every single thing and summarize and pretty much have an average of what I've seen and my experience, and trying to help you guys out and prepare for your next job interview. So if you guys are new to the channel, my name is Ben. I make videos about my experience going through my journey here as an entry-level cybersecurity professional, and I share my videos and my experiences along the way in hopes to provide you guys with some value and with some learnings. So if you guys are new to the channel, please subscribe and join the family. We're on our way to 50,000 subscribers, and also make sure to drop me a like for the YouTube algorithm as well. But with that being said, guys, let's go ahead and talk about the three different types of interviews that I want to go into right now. This video will be relatively unscripted, and I'll be pretty much going off the top of my head because I know you guys might have enjoyed that last video that I made. But let's go ahead and talk about the three types of job interviews that you might face. So the first one is going to be obviously the technical interview. This might involve, testing your technical knowledge, obviously, maybe some programming, your understanding of different cybersecurity concepts. We'll go over that. Next, we'll talk about the behavioral interview, and then also we'll talk about case study interviews. Now, I want to preface this video by saying you might not face the same type of interviews depending on, which company you apply for, depending on what position you apply for. It can vary greatly depending on what position, what company, heck, even location maybe. So just take these with a grain of salt if it doesn't really apply to you, but make sure you guys understand and are ready for maybe these three types of interviews, because you never know what you might face going into it. The recruiter, when you get ready for a job interview, might tell you what kind of interview you might be facing, but these are three common types of interviews that you probably will face if you try and apply for an entry-level cybersecurity job interview. So let's go ahead and hop into my computer right now, and I'm going to pretty much just diagram and draw some things to kind of visualize the concepts that I'm explaining, and then we'll go ahead and dive right into it. So let's go ahead and hop into my computer right now and get straight into it. All right, you guys, so welcome to the inside of my computer. Let's go ahead and talk about the three different types of the interviews, starting off with the technical interview. I'm going to go ahead and just draw diagrams and words along with this, just because I think it's more engaging and it's kind of more fun. So let's talk about the technical interview first, then we'll go into the other two. So the first thing I would say when it comes to technical interviews in cybersecurity entry-level positions is you're going to be looking at knowing the cybersecurity fundamentals. So having the foundational knowledge involving or concepts that you would find in the Security Plus exam. So having a good understanding of these different concepts and the foundational concepts that you would find in the Security Plus. So to be more specific with that, I have the objectives pulled up right here for the 601 exam. But all of these different terminology and these different types of attacks, different networking layers and stuff too, you'll probably most likely find on an entry-level cybersecurity technical interview. So be sure that if you're studying for the Security Plus, be sure you have a good understanding and idea of these different concepts and terms and acronyms, different port numbers for your job interview, because they most likely will expect you to know this type of information and have a good understanding and foundational knowledge of these concepts. Now, when it comes to entry-level job interviews, they won't expect you to know any of these things on a extreme, deep expert level. So don't be too intimidated when it comes to that kind of thing. But they do want you to know about it and know how it works at a basic level. So That's what I mean. That's what I mean by cybersecurity basics and security plus foundational concepts. So let's go ahead and move on from that and add on to this list right here. No, we won't go to the bonus quite yet, but I want to also add networking fundamentals. Now, you won't get too much of networking when it comes to the security plus, which is why I want to add on to this, because in order to become someone who is an effective cybersecurity professional, you need to have an understanding of networking concepts. And this doesn't need to be at a extremely deep level as well. When I talk about networking fundamentals, I'm talking about the different layers. So you mean, the network layer, the presentation layer, application layer, stuff like that. The OSI model is what I mean, really. And knowing the different types of networking hardware that you would find on those different layers and what they do. On top of that, knowing the difference between UDP, TCP, IP addresses. We'll add subnetting in there, maybe. How firewalls work. Stuff like that. This kind of goes into the networking sort of hardware, software type of thing right here. But this, for the most part, is what I would say you would need to know when it comes to networking fundamentals, because they most likely will ask you a few questions about networking, because that obviously, we're dealing with computers and technology here is a huge part of cybersecurity. So having a good understanding and foundational knowledge of these different concepts is going to be important for you going into those interviews. So make sure you guys brush up on that as well. Now, I'm going to go into a bonus section right here. So I think with these two parts right here, the basics of cybersecurity and the basics of networking, you are in a good position to do pretty well in a technical interview. Now, like I said before, this will vary between which position you're applying for. Your position might be something that it's extremely, more technical, where they might expect you to know more things, or it might be somewhere in the middle where you might need to know, just like this, or it might be more soft skills based, and you might not even need to know all of this information. So I think right here with this information right here is going to be a good middle ground for you to go into that interview prepared. So let's go ahead and move on to the bonus section right here. So things that are nice to have, I would say these are considered things that are wrong side. But these are considered things that are need to know. Let's phrase it that way. Let's put a line right here. And then this next part is something that I would say is nice to know. So maybe not a requirement per se, but it's just nice to have there if you want to be extra prepared, I guess. Now, I'll also go into this a little bit deeper in this section here. So one of the bonus skills that you might want to have in your back pocket is a scripting skill. So maybe something like a language like Python, maybe having an understanding of different operating systems like Linux, Windows, Active Directory, maybe some PowerShell, maybe some Bash, knowing how to navigate terminal, stuff like that. So these are some skills that can kind of vary and depends on exactly what position you're applying for. But these are some skills to maybe know and have a basic understanding of how they work. Maybe you can read and write some basic Python, and you understand how to use these different types of things and write PowerShell as well. Now, these will vary, like I said before, but let me go ahead and pull up an example of an entry-level job description, job posting. So this bonus section will depend on exactly what role you're facing and what role you believe they will need to require and test you on. And you'll find that most of the time in the job description. So let's go ahead. I found a listing on LinkedIn for the NHL based in New York. And you can see right here, it's an entry-level job. They don't have any part of the posting that has, 3+ years of experience. So this is legitimately an entry-level job from what I see. You'll see the description right here, or the duties and responsibilities. So get an understanding of that, of what they expect from you. And then also right here, the qualifications, you'll see more technical skills and tools that you might need to know. So an example right here, you'll see Windows and Linux system administration, network security. You'll see some AWS right here. So maybe look into an AWS certification, like a cloud practitioner, some of those basic, more entry-level certifications. You have your Azure AD right here as well. You have another tool right here, Python, Bash, and PowerShell. So you got those scripting languages that I was talking about before. So you have everything you need to know right in front of you right here. Now, one thing I want to reiterate one more time here is that these are entry-level jobs. They won't expect you to know these things at an expert level, so don't be too pressured and nervous and stressed out when they list off all of these different skills. They want you to probably know these things at a basic understanding, at a foundational level, like I said before. So let's go ahead and add on to this bonus section right here. And let's say conduct research So when you have that job interview lined up, and what you want to do is reread that job description and see what kind of tools they're looking for you to know how to use, different languages and stuff like that, and study accordingly. That's what I mean by that bullet point right there. In addition to that, maybe learning different tools, and it also depends on what kind of role you're going for. But obviously things like maybe an EDR, a SIM, different. It could go on forever. Different common softwares that cybersecurity teams use, and this is something that you can just Google, or you can ask ChatGPT as to what softwares and tools that you might want to just get a basic understanding of. You don't need to necessarily buy them and download them and do all that stuff. You can just go on YouTube and find a tutorial and just watch that and see how it works, see what it does. And I would say you're pretty much good on that point when it comes to those types of tools. But these are all bonus sections right here. So these are just nice to knows to be extra prepared. So for the most part right here, when it comes to the technical interview, this is going to be exactly, I think, in my opinion, what you would need to be extremely prepared to go into the job interview for the technical interview and kill it, I would say. So let's go ahead and move on. I'm writing these notes just because I think it would be helpful for you guys. If you maybe at the end of the video you want to take a screenshot, feel free to. Let me move this over right now as well. If I can, I'll go to Canvas. So let me move this over to the left right here. Let's see. Okay. And let's go ahead and talk about the behavioral interview. So let me get some water real quick, actually. So the behavioral interview is probably not as common as the technical one, obviously, but it's going to be extremely important if you're facing one. And the reason why I say that is because this one, in my opinion, is just as important, if not even more important, than the technical interview. This is going to be the hard skills. This is going to be the soft skills interview. Because let's use yourself as an example. Let's say you're someone who knows all of the coding languages, knows all the tools, has all the knowledge when it comes to cybersecurity, but you're someone who was unable to work well with teammates. You're someone who is a buzzkill. You're someone who doesn't contribute. You're someone who is a bad communicator. At that point, there's no really rhyme or reason for your technical skills. And that's why it's so important for you to be able to also perform well in the behavioral interview as well, because it tests your soft skills and to see if you're a culture fit on the team, if you're someone who is easy to work alongside with, because at the end of the day, you're working every single day with these people and they want to see if you're going to be a good fit. So with that being said, when you're going into these different behavioral interviews, you're going to be expecting open-ended questions. Types of questions like this. Tell me about a time where you had a disagreement with a coworker or a manager, and how did you resolve that issue? Tell me about a time when you faced an unexpected problem. How did you go about that issue? Tell me about a time when you had to learn a new skill in order to face a challenge or find a solution. Now, one other thing that you can do is you can actually go to ChatGPT, and I'll list off. I actually add this prompt right here as well. You can go into ChatGPT and you can actually just paste this prompt in there as well, and you'll get a list of different types of questions that you might face going into a cybersecurity job interview. Now, some of these questions may also involve some form of technical knowledge, but in my opinion, they probably won't test you on that because they already have the technical interview in place. They'll most likely test you on situations that don't involve technology, but they can as well. So your answers don't have to only involve work or prior work experience or cybersecurity experience, because like I said before, it's an entry-level job. You might not have that technical or cybersecurity related experience. It might involve something like your part-time work experience, or even in school or university, or your previous job in a different industry. These answers don't have to be cybersecurity related. So just keep that in mind when you're answering and preparing these questions. And one thing I also wanted to add to this is the framework in which you want to answer these questions. So you want to answer these questions in the STAR framework, and let's go over that as well. I'm sure you guys have heard this method. So the first one is going to be the situation, the task, the action, the result, and I actually like to add on the second star, or the R, which is going to be the reflection part. So the situation is going to be, so the whole point of a behavioral interview when it comes to this is you're pretty much becoming a storyteller. The situation part is the rising action. You want to be able to build the story, add the context, and hype it up, pretty much. Bring the interviewer in and make them feel as if they're in that situation themselves. You really want to build up that story. You're becoming a storyteller when it comes to the behavioral interview. Add the context, hype it up, make the interviewer really engaged, make it seem as if they're watching a 3D movie, pretty much. Next, you want to talk about the action. You want to talk about the problem at hand and what you needed to do to resolve the issue. So what you need to do in order to resolve the situation that's at hand right now. What actions that you took to resolve the issue. Be descriptive. That is the action piece right there. So what exactly did you do in order to resolve the issue? The result is what happened as a result of your actions. Like I said before, be descriptive. And then lastly, I like to add this reflection piece of, once you're doing all these things, what did you learn from it? What did you take away from it? Because when it comes to entry-level jobs, the one thing that they want to look for is seeing if you're able to learn from your mistakes or learn from different experiences. And at this point of the answer of this question, you want to show them what you learned from it and what you took away from it. So that is going to be the STAR method right there. This is going to be the framework in which you want to answer these questions. Now, one thing that you want to do is you want to keep the interviewer engaged. That's a huge part. And that's one of the reasons why I'm going to add this next part here is to keep your answers, I would say, between maybe 5 to 8 minutes. So you want to be 5 to 8 minutes. I think that's a good middle ground of being descriptive, enthusiastic, yet concise. This is going to be an art form that you need to do in order to keep your answers concise, yet descriptive, but also while you're explaining these stories, making sure that you're staying engaged, you're passionate, and you're being excited, or you're being maybe sad if your story is sad, or kind of have that roller coaster of emotions when you're explaining your story. I can tell you guys actually a story that I explained to an interviewer in this situation, just to give you guys an example. So the question that I faced was, tell me about a time when you had a difficult situation or interaction with a customer. And I actually went back to when I was working part-time at Apple, and I actually worked in the Genius Bar. And it was a relatively busy day. We had customers going in and out. And I had a customer come in. He seemed like he was pretty rushed, and he was pretty stressed out. He came in, sat at my table, and I took his appointment. It seemed pretty normal at first. Sometimes customers come in pretty stressed, but this one seemed a little bit different. This customer came in, he pulled out his iPad, and he told me right away, look, my iPad screen is completely cracked. I don't have any insurance. I don't have any backup of any information. And he said, I have, my iPad's cracked. I can't use it at all. I have a backup of my information. I have insurance as well. But I can't use it. And I own a law firm, and all of my client's documentation, my documents are in this iPad, and I need it fixed right now. So what I needed to do in this situation was, first of all, I wanted to align with the customer. I totally understand if I were in this situation, I would be the exact same way. I would be stressed out. I totally get it. Let me go ahead and find out exactly what I can do for you today. So that was the first thing I wanted to do. I wanted to align with this customer and make sure that they're understood and that they're heard. The second step I wanted to take was to see and assess the situation. See if we had any replacement iPads in stock and ensure that the customer did have a backup in place. So the action that I took from there was I wanted to ensure the customer had a backup. So we actually logged into his iCloud account on the computer and ensured that he has the iCloud backup. The backup itself shows that it was there and it was done the day before. So it seemed as if he was good to go. So I ended up replacing his iPad because he had insurance, and it was only for $50 or so. So he was completely fine with that. But when we were loading his iPad up and we were choosing which backup to choose from, there was no backup that came up. And at that point, the customer saw that and was extremely alarmed and frustrated and distraught because it showed up that he had a backup, but when we were setting up his new iPad, it showed up with no backup available. So at this point, the customer was extremely distraught. He wanted to talk to a manager, and eventually brought over my manager. The manager was talking to him, and apparently the customer didn't like the tonality in which the manager was talking to the customer, and he got even more frustrated. So I decided to reapproach this customer, and I addressed him, and I said, you know what, I'll be the same exact way if I were in your situation. I completely understand. But when it comes to backups and iCloud issues, we don't have any of that sort of system in place here in the stores, but we do have a team in place over the phone at Apple support that will better assist you with this issue when it comes to cloud and backup issues. And once I said that to him, he was a lot more calm, and I was able to pose different solutions for him, and he was able to put a smile on his face and say, you know what, Ben, thank you so much. I'll go ahead and set up a call with them and resolve the issue over the phone. And that's exactly what he did. He left the store. I actually set up the call for him with Apple support. He left the store, and we never saw him again, and everything seemed to be taken care of. So I was able to de-escalate the situation. He left the store happy with the new iPad, and everything was taken care of. So that would be my example story right there of a STAR method answer. It wasn't too long. I could probably be more descriptive and build out the story even more, but that's sort of what you kind of want to look for when you're telling a story when it comes to a behavioral interview. So let's go ahead and move on from there. You really want to suck in your interviewer and make it seem as if they're part of the journey as well. So that is the main objective. You're becoming a storyteller right here. Become a storyteller and pretend that you're telling a story by a campfire. That's the kind of vibe that you need, that mentality that you need when you go into these behavioral interviews. That's the way I kind of like to think about it. And in my opinion, the behavioral interview is probably my strongest suit when it comes to these three different types. So let's go ahead and move on to the last but not least, the case study interview. Now, this is probably the most foreign interview to me because I've only gone through one of them in my career so far. But what I would say when it comes to case studies, pretty much how they work is that they're going to present you with a problem, whether it be a logical problem, whether it be sort of more of a pattern or a math problem, or it be a business / like finance problem. This is like a completely open book. And the main thing that you want to do here during these case study interviews is to trust yourself and be calm and relaxed. So think your way through these things. Don't overthink it. Trust yourself. That's what I mean by these different things. And let's see, you also want to ask questions during the case study interview to your interviewer because they're there to kind of guide you in the right direction. And also you want to walk through walk your interviewer through your thought process. This allows the interviewer to understand where you're coming from, understand your thinking, but also if you're explaining yourself while you're talking and you're going through these different steps, if you end up talking and walking them through your thoughts and you go through maybe the wrong side of things, they might be able to guide you back and straighten you out into the right direction. So that's a really good tip that I would say. But when it comes to the case study interview, there's a lot of resources out there that you can really use. And you can actually listen or watch mock interviews as well on YouTube and different platforms like that. And also conduct your own mock interview as well with yourself and see how well you do. You can also use ChatGPT for this as well. So these are going to be the tips that I would have for the case study interview. The reason why I can't go too deep into them is because it will vary hugely with your company and the type of interview you're going for and the interviewer. these can vary greatly, so I can't go too much into the weeds like I can with the other two. But these are going to be the tips that I would have for the case study interview. These are also a lot more rare, so you may or may not be facing a case study interview. But this is just something good to have and good to be prepared for if you do face them. But this is pretty much going to be it, guys, for my cybersecurity entry-level job interviews, how to prepare for them. This is going to be the framework right here. You guys are more than welcome to take a screenshot of this if you're trying to, get ready for a job interview, if you have one lined up. I really hope you guys enjoy this content and find some value from it. Sorry for this being a bit of a longer video, but I love making these videos for you guys where I would really find these really valuable and useful if I were in your position, because I was literally a few months ago in your exact position as well. So I enjoy making these videos. I enjoy passing down the value and the knowledge to you guys. And I hope you guys find a lot of value from it. So if you guys do, please drop me a like and subscribe to the family. We're on our way to 50,000 subscribers, which is really exciting. And I hope you guys stay tuned for the next video. I'll continue to pump out cybersecurity content that hopefully provides you guys with a lot of insightful knowledge and experience and value. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching and sticking to the end of this video. I appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.